What is up, YouTube Nation? This is Drew from DEO Productions, and I am back with yet another video. Now, before we start, I'd like to congratulate Andrew Anderson from the PBA for winning the USB-C Masters. I follow a lot of bowling, and I followed that young man all through qualifying, match play, and now in the stepladder finals, and it was awesome to see him win. He is a great young talent, and of course, he is from my own state, Michigan, and he's from Holly, Michigan. That is awesome to see him win. And if you guys want to see anything more on bowling, of course, I can do equipment reviews, I can do bowling tips and all like that. If you're interested in that, go ahead and comment below, and I could definitely do that. Make sure you subscribe and like this video, and do any comment you can to let me know what I should produce, and make sure you follow the channel so you can see more great content. So my latest upload was the Dell XPS 159560 unboxing and first impressions. I was going to do a review of it, but I decided first that because I referenced the 9550, which is last year's model, so often in that video, I thought I'd go ahead and do a review real quick of this particular one before I bring out the 9560 review, so that you can get a feel for the differences between these two machines, so that potentially if you were to think about buying the 9550, you could see the differences in the two and see what you may be getting or losing when it comes to these two machines. So this is the Dell XPS 9550. Aesthetically, it is almost exactly the same. In fact, it is going to be a generation update and a lot of spec updates as well. Compare it to maybe a 6 versus a 6S upgrade with Apple. So really, when it comes to the outside of the actual machine, there's almost zero differences between the two. You're getting this nice Dell logo on the front of the machine, which is not a reflective but a nice black, and you're getting this beautiful one-piece metal, silver, aluminum design. Very, very nice. I absolutely love the details that Dell's put into their machine. It's very simple. It's very pleasant. It doesn't have anything flashy. It doesn't need to be flashy. It's a powerhouse machine. On the back of the machine, you have your bottom firing speakers. You have your top and bottom rubber feet. You have your exhaust vent for the fans, and you've got this Dell XPS door, which houses the express service code and the service tag of the machine. Again, really nice details and designed by Dell here to kind of hide that so that there's not numbers on the back of the machine. It just makes it a little nicer of a overall design. You also get 10 different hex screws around the outside to remove the bottom panel. On the front of the machine, exactly the same. You get the light for the postcodes and the battery and the status of the battery, whether it is low or needs charging. And you also get no lip here for opening the actual machine, which makes it a little difficult to open and requires more of a prying effort than maybe just a one finger or two finger design as featured on, say, the MacBook Pro. On the right side, you're going to get that nice full SD card slot, USB 3.1, full USB-A. You're going to get a battery light indicator. Just press the light here and it will let you know how much battery you have in this system. And you get that Kensington lock slot as well. On the left side of the machine, as you can see, I do have it plugged in. That is going to be your power adapter here, another full USB 3.1 USB Type A port, full HDMI, Thunderbolt 3 USB-C, and a headphone and microphone jack. So when it comes to the ports on the 9550 versus the 9560, you're going to be getting exactly the same. Nothing has changed between the two, not standards, not the amount of ports, and everything is going to remain exactly the same. It's nice to have some of these ports, especially since I do use the Lumix G7 that does support the SD card. Having that SD card slot, having a Kensington lock slot is great for when you're on the travel, and having a battery indicator, although may not be needed on some of these computers today, is nice to have, just so you can quickly tap it and know exactly what your charge percentage is. Now on the back of this machine, you have just a flat carbon fiber technology, and that carbon fiber goes all around the keyboard deck and the trackpad deck as well, which I'll get into when I start getting into the specs. So overall, you're getting two pieces of really, really nice aluminum milled from the same piece of aluminum, obviously. Really nice color, really nice design. I absolutely love what Dell does with their machines, and it just feels and looks like that premium machine that you would expect Dell to make for the price point that you're going to be paying for it. So in this machine comes 16 gigabytes of DDR4, 2133 megahertz SODIMM 260 pin RAM, rated at PC4 17,000. This does feature 2 memory slots, which are upgradable, both are, and removable and replaceable and stuff like that. Really, really nice by Dell to not solder that onto the board to make it non-replaceable like other competition. This is configurable up to 32 gigabytes if you did want it. The base model for this one did come with 8. We upgraded to 16 by adding another SODIMM chip, and it's upgradable up to 32. Now you do get an SSD in this. This is the 256 gig PCIe NVMe SSD. It is configurable up to 512 or 1 terabyte. So there's many different options when it comes to the SSD, but it is going to be a Samsung PCIe chip that you just slide into the PCIe slot. Really nice, is removable, is changeable, so that's another removable piece that's going to be very nice if you wanted to upgrade in the future. Now another big difference between the 9550 and the 9560 is going to be the processor. This features the Intel Core i7-6700HQ with a base clock of 2.6 and turbo up to 3.5. This has 6 megs of L3 cache and a 6th generation Skylake from Intel. Of course, on that 9560, you're going to get that i7-7700HQ, which is going to support a higher base clock as well as a higher turbo and 8 megs of L3 cache. So let's go into the graphics. Everybody wants to know about what kind of graphics processing they are going to be getting. This does feature discrete graphics as well as onboard. You're getting the Intel HD 530 graphics and NVIDIA GeForce GTX 960M, which features 2 gigs of GDDR5. Now on the 9560, you're getting the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1050, which features 4 gigs of GDDR5, which is 2 gigs more than this particular machine. So if you're going to be doing heavy 4K rendering, editing, 8K rendering, editing, then this machine probably is going to be a step down than the 9560. You might want to consider more. Always having more graphics processing power is going to be more important when you're doing 4K editing and 8K editing and stuff like that. For the battery, you're getting a 6-cell lithium-ion 84 watt-hour battery, which is powered by a 130 watt power supply. Now the watt hours on the battery are going to be slightly different if you get the matte display versus the 4K display, but in terms of the power brick that you are getting, it's going to be a standard 130 watt Dell power supply. Now the design on this, you get a nice piece of aluminum. It is a 2-piece unibody design. It is going to have those bottom firing speakers, no CD slot or anything like that. It's going to have the ports exactly identical on this model as the 9560, and I can't complain. This is a beautiful design, beautiful machine by Dell, and I would certainly purchase over a lot of the other competition. So in some of the other specs you are going to get Bluetooth 4.1, USB 3.1 Generation 2, as well as Waves Max Audio and Intel AC wireless in this machine. Now in terms of size, you're going to get 14.1 inches long, 9.3 inches wide, and 0.43 inches thick. And it is going to be 4.41 pounds. The weight does go up just a little bit if you get that 4K display, but nothing significant. Alright, so we've got a view of the outside. We've got a view of the internal specs on this machine versus maybe the 9560. Let's take a look at the inside so you can get a feel of the screen, and then we'll go over the performance metrics. Alright, so opening up this machine, you can see right off the bat that this is a matte 1080p display. Now the difference between this and the 4K display are actually quite a bit. So this is going to feature 95% Adobe RGB, whereas the 4K is going to feature 100% of that Adobe RGB. Well, it's actually 99, but we'll give them the 1%. In terms of bezels on the outside, you're going to see that they are a little more plasticky, a little more pronounced. They are going to be really thin. Of course, that's Dell's Infinity Edge display. But here on the bottom, it is a big chin bezel, and of course it has that 720p HD camera. Of course, a lot of people call it the chin cam. It's 74 degrees, really bad angle to see. It's a little better up here at the top. Of course, that's not the way Dell does things. You're going to get that Dell logo at the bottom. Now if you did get the 4K, it is one piece of Gorilla Glass covering the whole thing, hides the bezels a little bit better and makes it look a little more professional and very, very sleek and nice. Of course, you also get that touch feature, being able to touch the screen, of course, on the 4K display versus this one, which is non-touch. Now, you are going to be paying about $400 to $500 difference between the 4K and non-4K displays, and I actually don't mind the 1080p, but it is nice for video producers, content creators. So if you are debating to get the 4K versus the 1080p, it really has to be with what you do on a daily basis. Do you do a lot of 4K and video editing where you need more color accuracy, or can you get away with a non-touch, just basic 1080p display if you're going to be doing web surfing and stuff like that? So the keyboard as well as the deck is exactly the same. The keyboard as well as the trackpad, power button is all the same. Now on the 4K model you do get a biometric fingerprint reader, which is very, very nice. The trackpad, although not as large as say the trackpad on the MacBook Pro, is going to be nice rounded edges, not going to be flat. Very, very nice. Very, very clicky. Glass on top of it, and one of the best trackpads out on any computer today. Alright, so we've gone over the actual fit and finish of the computer as well as the specs in this one versus the 9560. Let's go over some of the performance metrics so that you can really get a feel for where this machine is going to come in versus the MacBook, which I'll also link here that you can see the performance metrics as well as the 9560 when I do that review. Now, as you can see here, the single core score for this is 2475. Now, you have to take into effect that this is a 2-year-old machine that I've had this for. The multi-core score is 8243. And as we scroll down here, we can see that you're going to get the North Bridge, South Bridge, memory, BIOS, all the different information you want. Of course, you can pause the video to take a look at all the different things and metrics you might want to see to get a comparison. Now, this is the OpenCL score, which features a score of 50,304. Again, all the different information as we scroll down. You could pause the video to take a look at any performance metrics or metrics you might want to see for comparison. Now, gaming with the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 960M as well as the i7 and 16 gigs of RAM is possible. Frame rates are going to vary. Now, I don't have any in-game play, but I do have some numbers. Tomb Raider featured a 142 frames per second on low settings, 65 on medium, and 33 on high or maxed settings. GTA 5 struggled a little bit more with the 95 frames per second on the lowest setting, 33 on the medium setting, and only 14 on the max setting. Again, this is not going to be a machine that you're probably going to be doing a lot of gaming on, as it doesn't have the amount of gaming graphics memory that you would need, such as an Alienware with 6 or maybe even 8 gigs of GDDR5. But where this machine does shine is an overall price versus performance. You're getting a very capable machine here for under $2,000. It features an i7 with 4 cores, 8 threads, 16 gigs up to 32 gigs of RAM, and a nice discrete graphics card in this. So what are the differences? Well, we know that the RAM is the exact same. The processor is going to be a generation newer with that 7700 HQ versus the 6700 HQ. The SSD is going to be exactly the same, but the discrete graphics is going to feature a NVIDIA GeForce 1050 versus the 960, 4 gigs versus 2 gigs. When it comes to the display and the design of the machine, absolutely nothing's changed. The port haven't changed, the keyboard hasn't changed, and the overall fit and finish has not changed. So if you did want something for a little cheaper, you can catch on some kind of clearance sites, or something that doesn't need all the power, you can catch for a good price. $95.50 might be for you, but if you do want the latest and greatest and you do want the absolute max performance you're going to get for what you're going to pay, the $95.60 might be there. Now, of course, we're not comparing Dell XPS to, say, the MacBook Pro or the Surface Book 2, but we are featuring the Dell XPS as one of the best overall machines for content creation and everyday use. So the keyboard of the machine is going to be really, really nice. It's one of the best keyboards on any computer made today. It is going to feature very nice key depth travel, and I've included a video here so that you can get a feel for this particular keyboard and the way it sounds and feels. So here is a video of the keyboard. I'm going to just start typing here on a notepad that I've opened so you can get a feel for the overall sound and key travel and things like that. Now, this is a really nice keyboard. I absolutely really enjoy it. It is going to be less punchy, it is going to be quieter, and it's going to feature really nice key travel. It's not going to be hard on the fingers for long amounts of typing, and can easily be used for long amounts of typing, blogging, things like that. Across the top here just features your typical function keys, and really is a standard US keyboard layout. Really, really nice. So here we go with the typing. Now, the trackpad on this is really nice. It's not as big as the MacBook Pro, but does have all the multi-touch gestures that you might want, and does have a nice glass overlay on top of it. It is a little more fingerprint prone, as is the carbon fiber deck, but the carbon fiber deck is going to be really nice in keeping the heat away from the actual internal components. So I've included a video here of the trackpad. So here is a video of the trackpad itself. Now the trackpad's not going to be as large as the MacBook Pro, but it is going to be really nice. It's going to have a glass overlay here on the top that mixes in really nice with this carbon fiber flanking each side. It's going to be a little more fingerprint prone and dust prone, but nothing that you can't handle and clean by just wiping it away. So tracking over this trackpad is an absolute dream. On some of the other plastic trackpads and stuff like that, you might tend to get caught up or stopped if there's anything on the keyboard and things like that. Really, really nice. And the tactile and responsive feedback of both the left and right click buttons are very, very nice, and I do enjoy this particular trackpad. Does not feel too wobbly, does not feel out of place, does not have anything that would say, well, this is not very quality, because this is. And everything in this Dell XPS is quality, from the keyboard to the trackpad to the carbon fiber to the screen if you get that 4K versus that 1080p. So let's talk carbon fiber for a second, because as you can see from the inside, it's not a metal design, it is a carbon fiber design. Now the carbon fiber, in my experience, is a little more fingerprint prone, and it is going to be a nicer design, fit, and feel, I like, a lot better than some of the metal. Metal is a conductor of heat, and the carbon fiber keeps the heat away and gives it a much better design, in my opinion, than a lot of the internal metal laptops. When it comes to heat in this particular machine, it does tend to get just a little bit warm on the lap, and the fans, although they do ramp up when you are using about 50 to 60% of the CPU, can get a little bit annoying and you can kind of hear them, but they do not have any rattle or coil whine that I've noticed, and are significantly better than the likes of, say, the Lenovo Yoga 720. May not be as good as, say, the MacBook Pro, but I can handle them a lot better than some other competition, maybe in the low power ultrabook CPUs that seem to ramp up a lot more often because of how thin they are. They have to get rid of that heat a lot quicker. So as you can see, a picture here of the internals. Really nice design here from Dell. You have two fans and two heat pipes that extract heat, two flat heat pipes that extract heat away from the actual CPU and the internal components. You can see there the removable RAM slots, removable Wi-Fi card, and some of the removable components that make this a choice over some of the other competition that does not allow for removable components, and are soldered onto the board, making it very difficult to replace and keep current. Guys, this has been a review of the Dell XPS 9550. The 9560 review I plan on doing in a couple days here, but I wanted to compare the 9550 against the 9560 so you can get a feel for both machines and see how they really are the same, but they really are kind of different in their own unique way. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Go ahead and comment, subscribe, and like the videos so I keep bringing content to you. You guys have been awesome. I've really enjoyed making videos again for you guys on this awesome Panasonic Lumix G7, and I would really recommend this particular machine. Thanks again, guys. Peace.